Hello and welcome to Cracking Culture Change. My name is Andy and today we're going to explore how expectations are changing about what people want from work and how organisations are responding. My guests today are Marleen Reinhinger and Lily Mears from Microsoft. I was keen to talk to Marleen and Lily about this topic to understand how a large multinational corporation like Microsoft is adapting culturally in order to attract and develop young talent, as well as developing more experienced colleagues. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I will catch up with my reflections at the end. Hello, I'm Andy Loveless and welcome to Series 2 of Cracking Culture Change, the podcast where you'll learn inspiring real-world stories to help you crack your culture. And the context for today's conversation is about how expectations are changing around what people want from work and how organizations can respond in terms of the culture they create and the experience for people. I'm delighted to be joined by Marleen Reinhinger and Lily Mears from Microsoft. Good morning, both.
Morning, Andy. Thank you for having us. Andy.
That's a pleasure. Thank you. So just to kick us off, can you just briefly tell us about your role and how long you worked at Microsoft? Because that's quite important given the subject matter.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for having us, Andy. Really excited to be here today. So I'm Lily. I am a customer success account manager, and I'm also studying for my degree in business management at the moment as well. I've been with Microsoft for 4 years, and over those 4 years, I've done various roles. So I did a role in business management, and I've also done a role in customer success management as well. But at the moment in my account management role, I work business to business with some of our customers, and I'm essentially the point of contact from a Microsoft perspective. I'm really there to support the customer from a proactive and reactive standpoint.
Great. Thank you very much. So the timing is interesting for this, isn't it? We've coming out of, still living with COVID. We've had the work from home. Everyone disappears, works from home for a while. We've now got hybrid, which or not, depending on your organizational choice. So the timing is good, I think, for this. And I suppose the first question I've got for you is just a general one around Microsoft. And how important is the organizational culture at Microsoft? And if you can, in a few words, few sentences, how would you describe that?
I mean, I honestly have to say fundamental. It's culture, and a great culture in any organization is critical to create the right work environments, to create environments that people want to be part of and attract amazing talent. And for Microsoft, it has always been key to our success as an organization, especially now, though, in this world of hybrid working. Culture is, in my opinion, the thing that makes you as an organization successful, but it's also a key differentiator, I think, to attract people to your organization and make people successful in your organization.
And Lily, how would you describe the culture at Microsoft? What words would you use, or adjectives or phrases?
I think we definitely live and breathe culture at Microsoft, and I think it's something that spans across every different organization, team, role. We're such a huge organization, and the fact that we have this culture that we all really respect and value, I think is really incredible, that it spans so far across all employees, and we're all so passionate about really living and breathing our culture.
And you talked about the number of employees. How big is Microsoft at the moment? I really don't have any idea. I couldn't tell you.
I think we're about 180,000 employees big globally. So we're quite large at the moment.
That is quite large. Yeah, okay. So thinking of Microsoft as an organization, how diverse is it? You know, people have these ideas about organizations like yourselves. It's young people, it's people out of graduates, it's people out of university, etc. What is the reality? What is the diversity? What do you have people of all ages working there, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, from our side, like the DNI, the DNI measure is an interesting thing, I think, because you can look at diversity in many different ways, and I love how you just approach this. You go, well, we can look at diversity from a gender perspective, we can look at a diversity from an ethnicity standpoint, you can look at diversity from a neurodiversity angle, and of course, you
Hmm.
have the age difference too. But I think in Microsoft, I would say that our culture is very very diverse from whether it's age or ethnicity or gender. We publish reports on a regular basis as well. So for the organization, it is critical to continue to push the boundaries of what we understand diversity is. Um, and I think the reality though is for any organization in the tech sector, we have to do more every day to bring in more diverse talent into the organization, into any organization. And that's female or women in tech is a big one, for example. And I think also the
Hmm.
age, let's address age too. Um, Often I guess you would see a lot of very experienced people working in technology. It requires a lot of skill set, especially when you go into technical roles. And so you would assume that a lot of people have been in a rather long-term career in tech. But really, what we are doing at Microsoft, and which I find is incredible about the organization, is that we, as I just said, continue to push boundaries. So bringing in people early in their career, getting them really early interested in tech, even doing grassroots work outside the organization, where you think, how can
Hmm.
we really build the pipeline for the future in the years to come? To encourage more diversity into the sector. So yeah, I guess that it was a long answer to your short question. Microsoft is a very diverse organization, but there's always more to do.
No, that's great because there's some things you talked about in there which I want to just explore a bit more later. So Lily, you're sort of a product of that pipeline, if I can use that phrase. Is that fair enough? Um, so what as someone who's new in the organization, what were your expectations of work generally, and then of Microsoft, and how has that been met from your perspective?
It's a really interesting point. And I think when I joined the organization at 19 years old, I came straight from college. I wasn't too sure what to expect from such a big organization like Microsoft. And I have been nothing but, absolutely amazed by the organization as a whole and the way that they've helped me develop in my career and the support that I've received from managers, mentors, peers, and the way that I'm at the early stage of my career, early in career, but it's actually just seen as, such a perspective around the table. And I think that's one of the great things about the diversity of Microsoft is as we're all sat around and having those conversations, whether they be internally or externally, every opinion and perspective is really valued. And I've always felt that through my 4 years at Microsoft, and especially coming from an early in career perspective.
So this is your only place you've worked, is it?
Yes, I had some part-time jobs before joining, but it's my first full-time experience. So yeah, I feel really lucky to have had that with Microsoft.
Brilliant. Well, that's lovely to hear. So you used the word amazed there. You said you were amazed with how it's been. What's amazed you?
I just think the cult, like I mentioned in my previous point before about how people really live and breathe the culture. I think one of the things
Mm.
as well is you actually really are empowered to be do what you love and come as you are to work. So one of the things that I've been super passionate about while I've been at Microsoft is not shying away from the fact that I've got dyslexic tendencies, and I've been really open with that with my managers and my teams and anybody who I might work with. And I think that's one of the things that truly amazed me, coming from the academic side of things, where potentially having dyslexic tendencies makes you sometimes work a little bit harder in certain situations, but to be able to bring that to the workplace and it not be a disadvantage or a factor at all has just been absolutely amazing. And I think that that's one of the key things out of many that I could discuss that I found since joining Microsoft.
That's great to hear. Yeah. Um, so thinking about the Microsoft culture and how it's worked for you to meet your expectations, just tell us some examples of the kind of things that you've been very clearly very passionate about the culture there. How is it lived and breathed? What does the organization do to keep it front of mind? What rituals do you have? What ways of working? We talked about the values. and the purpose and that sort of thing? How does it all play together, I suppose, to deliver that rich culture that you both clearly are flourishing in?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to give some thoughts there. Whenever I think about culture in our organization, and I do actually think that's true for many organizations, I look at the leadership because the leadership sets the tone. And we are incredibly fortunate. Obviously, we might be biased as Microsoft employees, but I do think that the sector will agree to have a leader like Satya Nadella as our CEO, who has fundamentally driven a different culture, or let's say evolved our culture from previous years when he came into role in 2014. He, in his first email to employees, addressed culture as the key to our success. And he himself positioned himself as a leader that is intensely curious and always wants to learn. And these values that he has as a person, he has carried into the way we look at Microsoft today. Core of our culture is that what we call a growth mindset. That is for us a way to continuously push ourselves to learn more and not be a know-it-all, but actually be a learn-it-all and approach situations, whether that's with customers or internally in that way. So that level of humility that we want to foster in people, that continuously there's more to learn, let's challenge our thinking continuously, I think creates a fantastic culture. And that curiosity really goes through everything that we do. So that is a big part of our culture there. And again, having someone like him lead that and drive that is incredibly important. So that's the leadership for us. And it's also actually, funnily enough, Lily and I talked about this, when we hire new people into Microsoft, and people can look at this online, there are certain criteria that we would want people to think about when they go into interviews. Growth mindset is one of them. We obviously already lead with that when we attract people. We want people that are curious. We want people that want to learn it all and not come in and know it all, which is fantastic. So I think that's one part of our culture at leadership. The second part is what we often call is using Microsoft as your platform. So think about being an employee. We just talked about we are 180,000 people. We are a huge global organization, yet there's this cool part. And again, it does come down from our leadership where we say, yes, Microsoft is a technology organization. Yes, we are a global organization. Yes, we are a commercial organization to some extent as well. But you are an employee here and you have the power to make a difference. So use Microsoft as your platform to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And even the person that in the office that I work for, he often talks about his how he used Microsoft as a platform to have an international career, because that was what he was really passionate about. So you can use Microsoft as an organization to have multiple careers. Lily just talked about this. We have a lot of departments. You can have a lifetime of careers at Microsoft, which is incredible. And I think that is what keeps people in Microsoft for a long time too. You can do that, but you can also use Microsoft to do the things that you want to change in the world. We have events once a year, which is a global hackathon, where we encourage employees to come together to hack big problems. So they can bring in their passion, they can bring in their technical expertise, and we encourage them to think about the big problems that they want to solve. Is it sustainability? Is it accessibility? Is it other things that they think are problems in the world? We create that time for employees to do that. And I think the other one is generally just how we drive culture change in the organization. Microsoft employees have a core responsibility as part of their performance. Let's call them performance reviews, but it's development conversations where D&I is a thing that we are seeing as core priority. So every employee at Microsoft will have diversity and inclusion as a core priority in their commitments to the organization, which is ingrained in how we assess performance. So we hold people accountable to make a change. It's not just a thing we talk about, it's a thing that we do day to day. So I think that's in summary, if I could say that, that's probably some of the things that come to mind when I talk about culture.
No, that's great. I'd love to hear from Lily, and I just want to highlight a couple of things before we let Lily come in. I love the phrase you used, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all, I think you said. Great phrase, and I love the idea of the global hackathon once a year that everyone joins up with, or is it an optional thing, or do you have to turn up, or how do you decide what the priorities are? How do you decide what you will work on? Because there's so many people.
Yeah, it's a global event, and people have the opportunity to join voluntarily. So it's not just a thing that we, force people to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I actually have to completely admit I have not taken part in one of these yet, but I still have time with Microsoft. So I really, now that I talk about it, I should probably do that.
Next time.
But yeah, next time. Well, sign up. But
You're
I
committed
mean,
now.
how it exactly, now you got me onto it, I have to commit. So I think what they tend to do is they do look at some of the things that are top of mind for Microsoft or our society at the moment, but it is very much employee led. So we have seen people come together to form groups. So you might actually start working with people that you've never worked with before from different countries or different departments, because you come together on a thing that you're passionate about, and that's what you hack on. I think in our teams, the team that Lily and I used to work in before, people came together, again, a global team, to hack on a problem that they saw with how we can improve our internal processes. And or even actually some of the things where even something for our customers where we say, hey, we have our technology, but we identified gaps that we think we should fill. And then they did
Yeah.
that and took that and hacked on it together. So yeah, it's voluntary, but people come together to solve big problems that they are passionate about.
Lovely. Thank you. Lily, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, echoing all of the points that Marleen just made. And I really liked your one, Marleen, about the learn it all culture. That definitely, I definitely connected to that while I've been doing my degree since being with Microsoft. I actually started on a level 4, so a foundation degree, and then transitioned into a level 6 degree in business management. And I think just knowing that the rest of the company are learning at the same time I am, whether it be something completely different, whether it be a passion or something for their role or something as a stretch or in career development, it just feels really good to know that everybody's on a learning journey. So you never feel like you walk into a room and you sort of have to explain this sort of situation, and that I don't feel like I'm the only one on like a new path and all of that stuff. So it is really, that point is so, you can see it across the business, you can see it across the organization, and leaders are even on their own learning journey, and they'll post badges on LinkedIn when they potentially have taken a course in things such as accessibility or change management. And I think that's really great to see achievements from all different stages of people's careers. And I think I also would say from a passion perspective as well, there's a really great feel across the culture in really breathing your passions, and you don't just have to do the day job. You can actually stretch further and get involved in passion areas. I'm actually involved in one of our employee resource groups, which is the LGBTQI plus community. So it's a group of community members and allies, and we actually do lots of work to really elevate, educate, and support the community. So examples like that are just where what I really respect and value from the culture as well.
Brilliant. Amazingly, we've been going for 25 minutes now. I can't believe it. So we've only got a few minutes left. We need to schedule another one, I think, to have a conversation. Do we have time? Could you tell us briefly? I think, Marleen, when we spoke earlier, you mentioned there was a cultural reset. I think you referred to it here briefly. Can you tell us just what triggered that and what difference that's made to the organization? What was it like before, and we talked about what it's like now, but what was the trigger for that, and how was that initiated, that sort of big change?
Yes. I mean, fundamentally, I think the biggest shift for us was that Satya became the CEO in 2014. But he became the CEO in a time where the industry in technology saw a big shift. You think about Microsoft used to be a Windows and Office led organization. You thought Microsoft, you thought Windows and Office, and the industry shifted to a cloud first, in some instances, mobile first world, right? So, and the interesting thing is a lot of our customers are seeing the same thing. No industry stands still. digital transformation that we are going through is always a journey. So these signals from industries happen all the time. It's just catching them early before you start overlooking some changes that are fundamentally shifting what your customers or consumers expect from you. So Microsoft was, I think, at that tipping point back then, where we actually thought the behaviors and the things that we did in the past would no longer propel us forward in the future. And Satya came on and led that shift to that cloud first, mobile first world for us. Now, Microsoft has always had a big purpose, whether it was when we were first founded by Bill Gates of a PC on every desk. That was his vision for us. It was a big and bold vision, but that's what he wanted to get to, and he did. To then actually shifting more towards now our vision and our mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. We've always been that purpose-led. So Satya reflected on where we need to get to as an organization. And the thing that he really picked up on is don't be a know-it-all, because we were very dominant in the industry. Nobody can deny that. Microsoft was leading. So let's just be humble and learn it all, because the world is changing. And I think the other thing was that Microsoft internally had a bit of an internal competition in some aspects. So we worked as an organization, and internal behaviors made it feel a bit like there's some internal competition between departments. Who is the most successful? Yeah. But the shift that we had to make, we had to think about, how do we bring our solutions together? How do we bring our departments together? How do we become one Microsoft? And that is the other big shift that we have had to go through, where we really think about, if we really want to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more, we have to work together as one. And we have to think about how we bring solutions to organizations that are a platform of solutions and that work together and that enable our customers to have Microsoft in their blood as an organization and help them to be successful, right? So I think that was the big shift for us as well. So the culture shift wasn't just something that we thought was a nice thing to do. It was a fundamental, necessary thing to do for us to grow and evolve as an organization.
Excellent. Thank you. Very, very clear. Great story. Before you go, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. I'll tell you what it is. You can have a little time to think. But at the end of these podcasts, we always ask for anyone listening a practical tip or a piece of advice that they can take away. So our question is there one practical piece of advice you'd give for anyone who's embarked on leading, changing, embedding culture? What would be that, Lily?
I mean, something just sprung to mind, but for me, it would just be to openly talk and have those communication points and never stop the conversation on culture, and always remember people's intent. So as long as your intentions are good and you know, sometimes it's tricky to talk about things you potentially don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think just having pure intent and keeping those conversations going, I think is one of the practical things I would say that you could do.
Great.
I kind of build on Lily's point there. I would just say, for anyone who really wants to shift culture and think about it, you are the change. It starts with you. Whether you are an employee, a manager, same employee, whether you are an individual contributor, a manager or leader of your organization, or the CEO, it starts with you. And you don't have to wait for change to happen. You can make the change happen. And I think, connected to Lily's point, have conversations, explore, but really reflect and be humble with yourself on the things that you can change, because we can always do more. And the learning journey on culture and inclusion is never over. So that would be mine.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been really inspiring talking to you this morning. I really appreciate you joining us for this conversation. And yeah, that's it. We've run out of time for this episode. So many thanks.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Andy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 What a great episode. I left this episode feeling really energized. I was so struck by the passion and the energy and the confidence of Lily and Marleen. And I really got that they're people who are living and breathing the culture that they want. It was really impressive. A couple of things that I thought were very important to take away was the big point they made about leadership setting the tone, and the senior leaders really leading and role modeling humility in particular, which is a big thing these days. The fact there's always more to learn, and that everyone, even the senior people, are on a learning journey. And they talked about growth mindset, which I thought was really interesting to have that at the heart of the culture. The other couple of things I thought were great was the fact that they experienced Microsoft as a platform for them to do good, and you have the power to make a difference was a key message that I heard them say, and I got they were really believing and living that. It wasn't just words on a page. The other thing I found fascinating from a cultural change point of view is how they've reset and refreshed their culture in a huge, massive global organization. It must be really challenging, and really empowering their people to achieve more, purpose-driven, everyone working together to become one Microsoft. So I thought that's fascinating. And the final thing I asked them in terms of top tips was, never stop the conversation about culture. You have pure intent, and you are the change. It starts with you. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true. You don't have to wait. You can make the change happen where you are. If you'd like to crack your culture, please get in touch with us at www.pecanpartnership.co.uk. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone you think could benefit from listening. Thank you.